October 22, 2018. 8:20 p.m. A bright 21-year-old college athlete texts campus police one final time. Her message is short, urgent, fearful. But no one responds. And 30 minutes later, Lauren McCluskey is dead. He did everything right. She asked for help. She reported the threats. She begged to be heard. But she was failed again and again. By her university. By law enforcement. By a broken system that ignored the warning signs. This is the story of a predator who wore a mask of love, a college campus that turned away, and a young woman whose murder should have been prevented. You're watching True Crime Recap Files. And this is what really happened to Lauren McCluskey. Lauren's life and background. Before the headlines. Before the police reports. Before the unanswered texts and the terrifying silence. There was just Lauren. A daughter. A student. An athlete. A young woman with a future so bright, it seemed unstoppable. Lauren Jennifer McCluskey was born on February 12, 1997, in Berkeley, California, and raised in Pullman, Washington. From an early age, she was a natural athlete, graceful, driven, and deeply focused. Track and field became her passion, and she wasn't just good at it, she was elite. By the time she entered college, Lauren held multiple high school records in the high jump, long jump, and sprints. Her coaches admired her discipline. Her teammates loved her loyalty. And her parents, Jill and Matt, they saw her as their whole world. She was the kind of young woman who followed the rules. Straight A student. A kind-hearted soul. Someone who never partied, never caused trouble, never made enemies. She was quiet. She was observant. But she was also fiercely independent. In 2018, Lauren was a senior at the University of Utah in Salt Lake City, majoring in communication. She had dreams of working in sports broadcasting or becoming a coach. But she wasn't in a rush. She was someone who took time with things, careful, thoughtful. She always wanted to get it right. And like many college seniors, she was exploring life. Trying new things. One of those things was online dating. She had just started using the app Meet Me, not looking for anything serious. Just someone to talk to, maybe go for coffee. Someone to distract from the stress of training, studying, and planning life after college. That's where she met Sean. Lauren's life was filled with light. With promise. With everything ahead of her. But the moment she met him, everything began to shift. Slowly at first, then all at once. Because the man calling himself Sean was not who he said he was. And by the time Lauren would realize the truth, it would already be too late. Next, we trace the chilling deception, how a predator built a fake identity, and how Lauren, like so many others, was drawn into his trap. October 2018. Lauren was preparing for her final season as a University of Utah track star. Between classes and training, she downloaded an app called Meet Me. Nothing serious, just looking for someone to talk to. Someone real, someone safe. That's when she found him. Sean. A 28-year-old man. Handsome. Polite. A construction worker who said he had just moved to Salt Lake City. He was older. More mature, he said. Said he respected women. Said he liked that Lauren wasn't like the others. He knew what to say. What not to say. And more importantly, when to listen. To Lauren it felt refreshing. Honest. Safe. But none of it was real. The man Lauren thought was Sean was actually a 37-year-old registered sex offender named Melvin Sean Rowland. He was using a fake name, a fake age, and a carefully staged persona. He had no job in construction. He hadn't just moved to the city. In fact, he was on parole. Out on a second chance. And abusing every second of it. Lauren had no idea. Lauren and Sean started seeing each other in person shortly after meeting online. He picked her up at her dorm. took her out to dinner, walked with her. Listen. But from the start, something was off. He refused to add her on social media. Said he didn't like putting his life online. He only texted or called from unknown numbers. Burner phones. He always controlled the schedule. Always decided when they would talk, and when they wouldn't. At first Lauren trusted him. Because that's who she was. Trusting, kind, hopeful. But slowly she began to ask questions. Questions he didn't want to answer. Why wouldn't he show her his driver's license? Why didn't he have an Instagram? Why did his stories never quite match up? And then one day, she asked a question he couldn't dodge. Are you lying about your age? That's when everything began to fall apart. Melvin Rowland began to panic. Because he knew, if Lauren ever found out who he really was, it would all be over. But she was about to find out. And her discovery would trigger a chain of events that no one could stop. October 9, 2018. Lauren McCluskey had just come back from practice. Tired, focused, distracted. But something was eating at her. A growing discomfort. A whisper that something wasn't right. She pulled out her phone and started digging. That moment shattered her world. Sean wasn't 28. He wasn't a construction worker. He was Melvin Sean Rowland. A 37-year-old convicted sex offender with a long violent history of manipulating women and leaving destruction behind. This wasn't just deception. It was danger. Lauren acted fast. She didn't freeze. That same night, she sent a text to her mother Jill. Mom, I think I've been dating a sex offender. What do you do when your instincts scream at you, but the system stays silent? Lauren knew the truth now. But truth wasn't enough. Not when the man on the other end of that truth was a predator who had fooled others before her. She didn't just break up with him. She reported him. She contacted campus police. She called Salt Lake City police. He gave them everything, his texts, his photos, his real name. He trusted them to protect her. They didn't. Campus police didn't immediately contact Melvin Rowland's parole officer. They didn't track down the number he was texting her from. They didn't issue a no-contact order. And while they stalled, Melvin got angry. He started texting Lauren from anonymous numbers, harassing her, demanding she stop ruining his life, threatening to release intimate photos. He had crossed a line, and Lauren had had enough. She went back to police, this time with screenshots of the threats. And still, nothing happened. The system failed. But Lauren was still fighting. And she had no idea that Melvin was already planning his next move. Lauren did everything right. He followed the law. He trusted the system. But the system didn't trust her back. If you're watching this, ask yourself, would they have listened to you? The breakup was supposed to be the end. But for Lauren, it was just the beginning of something far more sinister. October 12, 2018. Lauren receives a message from an unknown number. It includes a private photo of her, one she had sent to Sean. The sender threatens to release the photo publicly, unless she pays $1,000. It's blackmail. And Lauren is terrified. She reaches out to campus police again, in person this time. He tells them, the blackmailer has access to her intimate photos. She suspects it's Rowland. He has evidence. Screenshots. Names. Numbers. The response? We'll look into it. No urgency. No immediate action. No arrest. But Lauren wasn't passive. She began documenting everything. He sent the screenshots to her mom. She emailed officers. She even tried to identify the phone numbers using search tools. She was investigating her own case, while law enforcement sat still. She was 21, a college student, an athlete, a daughter. She should have been studying for finals, not begging police to save her life. The blackmail escalated. Now it wasn't just about money, it was about control. Sean, Melvin Rowland sent more messages. Threats to expose her. Promises that if she told anyone he'd release everything to her coaches, teammates, even her professors. It wasn't just extortion. It was psychological warfare. Lauren began to isolate. She skipped social events. Became more withdrawn. Her anxiety rose. She didn't just feel unsafe, she felt invisible. What Lauren didn't know was that Melvin Rowland was using burner phones, multiple email aliases, and private messaging apps to stay ahead of authorities. He knew how to work the system. And more dangerously, he knew that the system wasn't watching him. Lauren kept receipts. She gave names. She shared phone numbers. But she wasn't taken seriously. How many women like Lauren cry for help and never get heard until it's too late? If you're watching this, pause. Would you know what to do if this was your sister, your daughter, your friend? Because in just days, Lauren's worst fear becomes reality. The final warning, her last cry for help. By now, Lauren had every reason to be terrified. She was being blackmailed. Her stalker was a known felon. And the police? They still hadn't arrested him. The clock was ticking. And Lauren knew it. Friday, October 19, 2018. Lauren contacts the University of Utah police again, for the third time in less than a week. She explains. The blackmailer is still texting. He's threatening to release intimate photos. She believes it's Melvin Rowland. And once again, she pleads for help. A dispatcher notes Lauren's concern. She's told someone will follow up. But that follow-up never happens. They were short-staffed. There was a football game that weekend. And so, Lauren's case slipped through the cracks. In a final attempt to protect herself, Lauren sends a desperate email to the campus police chief. Subject: blackmail and harassment by a sex offender. She writes, "I'm worried for my safety." That email was never forwarded to the officers investigating her case. No one followed up. No arrest was made. And time ran out. Over the weekend, Lauren went about her routine. Track practice, dinner with teammates, calls with her mom. But something in her had changed. She no longer believed she was safe. October 22nd. It was just another Monday. Lauren went to class. Trained at the gym. Texted her mom. But she had no idea that the man she had feared for weeks was already planning to ambush her. Lauren did everything right. She reported her stalker. She handed over evidence. He begged for help. And she was ignored. If someone, anyone, had acted that Friday, would Lauren still be alive? Think about that before you scroll. Because next, we relive the final hours leading to the horror that unfolded in a campus parking lot. October 22nd. The night she was hunted. October 22, 2018. A cold, gray Monday in Salt Lake City. For most students at the University of Utah, it was just another day. But for Lauren McCluskey, it would be her last. Lauren started her day with a track workout. She looked exhausted, but focused. By evening, she was back in her dorm, texting her mom. Around 8:20 p.m., she mentioned she was heading out briefly to grab her car from the parking lot. "I'm going to get my car. Be back in a few minutes." He never made it back. What no one knew at that moment, Melvin Rowland was already there. He had borrowed a friend's car, brought a handgun, and was waiting in the shadows. He forced Lauren into the car, drove a few blocks. He shot her in the head and chest, left her body in the back seat, and ran. Back at her dorm, Lauren's mother, Jill, grew frantic. She called campus police. But by then, Lauren was already gone. This didn't happen in a dark alley. It happened on a college campus 300 feet from help. She reached out. She begged. She gave them names, evidence, warnings. Nobody acted. And Melvin Rowland? He got away. For a few more hours. So where did he go? Who helped him escape? And how did a convicted predator on parole, with a known victim and a gun, vanish into the night, right under the authorities' noses? The fugitive, a predator on the run. After murdering Lauren McCluskey in cold blood, Melvin Rowland vanished. But he wasn't running blindly. He had a plan. Lauren's mother, Jill, called university police to report her missing. She told them her daughter had just gone to get her car. But police didn't treat it like an emergency. They didn't ping her phone. They didn't issue an alert. And by the time they responded, it was too late. Meanwhile, Melvin Rowland returned to the parking lot. He retrieved Lauren's body, moved her phone, wiped surfaces clean. He was covering his tracks. Calmly, efficiently. Just like a predator who'd done this before. Rowland didn't hide. He walked into a downtown bar. Flirted with women. Had a drink. No one knew he had just taken a life. Authorities eventually traced him through digital surveillance. Cameras. PM logs. His parole ankle monitor, which he had recently removed. Here's what makes this worse. Melvin Rowland was a known predator. He had been convicted of sex crimes before. He was on parole. He lived under a false identity. Dated a university student. And murdered her. Without anyone stepping in. The system didn't just fail Lauren. It empowered her killer. At 1 a.m., police finally tracked Melvin Rowland to a church building in downtown Salt Lake City. They entered the building. But it was already over. Rowland had taken his own life. A single shot to the head. No justice. No answers. No closure. Within hours, Lauren's parents were informed. Their daughter, their only child, was dead. And the man who killed her, a serial liar, a convicted predator, a walking red flag, was gone too. She begged. She warned. She documented everything. She died alone. Coming up next. What did the police know? Why did they ignore her cries for help? And how Lauren's case changed federal law forever. The lawsuit, a mother's fight for justice. In the wake of Lauren McCluskey's murder, there was grief. But there was also fire. Jill and Matt McCluskey refused to let their daughter become a statistic. They demanded answers. They demanded accountability. And what they uncovered was a staggering web of incompetence, neglect, and denial. In June 2020, the McCluskeys filed a $56 million federal lawsuit against the University of Utah, its police department, and multiple university employees. The charge: deliberate indifference. The university was warned multiple times, and they did nothing. During legal discovery, a devastating timeline emerged. University police had ignored Lauren's repeated warnings, failed to investigate Sean Fields, overlooked his sex offender status, dismissed his parole violations, and never escalated the case to higher authorities. One officer even mocked Lauren's complaint, calling it a relationship issue. That same officer never ran a background check on Rowland. If he had, he would have seen the truth. But Jill didn't stop with the lawsuit. She created the Lauren McCluskey Foundation, dedicated to campus safety, dating violence awareness, and institutional reform. She turned tragedy into action. And in 2022, something extraordinary happened. After nearly 3 years of legal battle, the University of Utah settled the lawsuit. They agreed to pay $13.5 million. One of the largest payouts in university history for a campus violence case. But that wasn't all. The university also made public commitments, mandatory officer training, a new campus safety chief, domestic violence protocol overhaul, and direct investment in Lauren's foundation. Lauren's death exposed something ugly, that even in places meant to protect young people, systems fail. And when they fail women, especially women trying to protect themselves, the cost is often fatal. Lauren did everything right. She spoke up. She followed the rules. She trusted the system. But the system didn't protect her. It protected her killer. This isn't just a story about a murder. It's a story about how institutions fail the people who trust them. About a bright, compassionate young woman who only wanted to be safe, and paid the ultimate price for asking. Her legacy, the change she left behind. Lauren McCluskey's story didn't end with a gunshot. It didn't end in a parking lot. It didn't end with a funeral. Because her mother, her friends, and millions who learned her name, refused to let it end there. In the years following her murder, Lauren's name became more than a headline. It became a rallying cry. A push for accountability. A demand for safety. Through the Lauren McCluskey Foundation, her family created real tools and real hope for young women everywhere. The foundation funds campus safety training, violence prevention initiatives, technology to protect students in abusive relationships, scholarships for student athletes in Lauren's name. But Lauren's story is also a case study in how people psychologically dismiss red flags. She was calm. She was composed. She wasn't hysterical. And because of that, her fear wasn't taken seriously. That's the tragedy and the lesson. Lauren left a paper trail, and a digital trail, of texts, emails, voicemails, and calls for help. But that trail meant nothing when no one was looking. Now her legacy has sparked new proposals for automated alert systems when students report threats, cross-agency sharing of offender data, and AI-assisted risk detection in campus policing. In 2023, the University of Utah opened the Lauren McCluskey Building for campus safety. A symbol, a scar, a promise, and every time a student walks through its doors, her name whispers, "Someone is watching now." If you've ever said, "Why didn't she leave? Why didn't she call the cops? Why didn't she fight back?" Think of Lauren. She did everything society tells women to do. And she still died. Because we've built a system that blames victims more than it holds abusers accountable. Lauren McCluskey was more than a victim. She was a daughter, a teammate, a friend, fighter. She ran for the finish line in every part of her life. But in the race for safety, the people meant to protect her never left the starting line. Remember her. Protect others. Demand change.